Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. Today we are headed to Texas and Balcones, and we're going to be doing a tasting of True Blue Cask Strength. Now I have a story to tell you about this bottle because I went into the store because I was out of one of my, I will say my favorite corn whiskey, which is the Baby Blue Balcones. I love that whiskey. It's just very drinkable. It fits for what I want it for, which is if I'm in a conversation with people and I want a really nice, easy drinking whiskey, then that's what I'm going to go after. But as I got into the store, I started talking to the store manager, and I said, "Oh, I'm here to buy that Baby Blue corn whiskey." And he said, "Oh, have you tried the True Blue?" And then I said, "No." And he said, "Oh, well, it's right over here. It's a store pick. And so, this is something I think you should try." Because he says, I like it. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, I came in for something very drinkable. And I'm going to go home with a whiskey that looks like Coca-Cola. It is so dark. This is definitely as high up on the Walker scale as you're going to get. This is definitely 2 plus. 63.5% alcohol by volume. Now it is aged in used American oak. So, and still, used American oak. How does it get this dark? 43 months in oak. So the thing about the Baby Blue is that it is a 1-year whiskey. And I think that is perfect for it. It's just what it needs. And so everything that I looked at on this bottle said, don't buy this. But sometimes you give in to peer pressure, and I'm sitting there holding the bottle and I'm talking to him and he's like, this is really good. So I said, okay, well, I'll take it home. We'll see what goes on. It's not serving the purpose I want, which is to have a very drinkable whiskey. This is going to be something that's probably going to be a little bit challenging and hopefully not one-dimensional, because if it's that dark, even used oak, that dark, I gotta say, I'm thinking it's going to be an oak bomb, and there's not going to be much else to it. Will that corn come through? Will I get out of it what I really like about the Baby Blue? Or is this a bottle that is going to sit next to my Stave and Barrel from Glens Creek that I like, but it's one of those whiskeys that is so strong that it's just not one that I ever reach for. So, and right off the bat, on the nose, I get oak. I want to say I always get like a little pepperiness, and there's an earthy kind of a note that comes in. The corn, not really there. Maybe a bit of a char that's coming in. Yeah, it's hard to tell. The alcohol is burning my nostrils just a little bit. It's not overly aggressive, but it's just tickling the nose hairs a little bit. Cheers. Mm. Oak. Maybe a little espresso note in there. Oak. It's not a negative oak. It's, like I say, I'm not a big fan of oaky whiskeys, but this doesn't taste like you're licking the side of a barrel. But there's really not that lovely corn note coming through that I love so much. It's so strong, and there's a little bit of a cinnamon note on the end. And it finishes clean, but not a lot going on with that. So I brought the water because I had a feeling I might need it, and I'm telling you right now, I'm probably going to douse this because it feels like I need it to be a lot lighter than this. See how much lighter that color is now? That's how much I added in there. This is probably about a third water now. Ah, okay. Now I'm getting a little bit of a caramel note and a little bit of a vanilla note pulling out of this. Ooh, what was that? Oh, that's a pleasant smell. I can't tell you what it is, but it's something that brings on a pleasant memory of some form. There is a little bit of a foresty kind of a smell to this. I almost want to say it's like a baked good. It is a baked good kind of spice that's coming out. This nose is completely different from what it was before. Wow. Cinnamon, but there is like almost like a floral note that comes out of that. That is a really interesting nose. It's very herbally as well. That earthy kind of a character to it. I'm still not really getting corn out of it. Cheers. Mm. Wow, that is much better. Again, earthy, milky consistency to it. Maybe it's got kind of a syrupy note to it, like a maple that comes in. But with all that water that I added to it, it just thinned out on the end. It's kind of like, oh, okay, there it went. There's not much left. And in fact, it's kind of unsatisfying once you get to that point because it tastes like something has been watered down. And so I'm going to have to play with the water on this to see if I can get it into better shape. That oak is the first thing that hits you on the nose, though, still. And after taking a sip of it, now the floral and the herbal notes are not quite as strong as they were the first time. Vanilla's still there. When I bought this and then I first tasted it, I thought it was a lost cause. I'm like, this is definitely just going to sit on the shelf. I'm not going to drink it. After adding some water to it, here's what I'm going to say. It's much better on the nose. It's very interesting on the nose once you add the water. But unfortunately, it just becomes too thin with the water too easily. And it just becomes unsatisfying once you get to the finish of it. So I'm just going to have to play with the water on this and see if I can get it to a better spot. But this is what I mean by I would like to see a distiller put these to a strength that is something that they're happy with, that they've added enough water to it to make it something that they feel is a great representation of what this whiskey should be. Now, there's the other argument that, well, if we do it in cask strength, then you have the ability to water it down as much as you want to water it down. But sometimes you just want to drink it. You don't want to become a scientist, working with a beaker, trying to figure out proportions and what you're supposed to do. I just want to pour a glass of whiskey and be happy with it. I did try drinking this with a couple of ice cubes just to see what would happen, and I didn't like it. I just did not like it on ice. It's one of those that I'm just going to have to figure out how to drink this in a way to where I enjoy it, to where I can really get it to where that nose is nice, and then also keep from diluting the finish to a point where it just feels like I'm drinking watered down whiskey. So, sometimes you got to work with a whiskey until you get it to where you want it to be, or maybe it will end up in an infinity bottle, and then it's got some potency behind it. Who knows? Who knows what will happen with this bottle? But anyway, not enough left in my glass there but I'll do it anyway. Cheers and Slanjava.